Up next, we've got Chitrang. So Chitrang, hello, how are you? Looking forward to this topic around unlocking value from data analytics and AI in the healthcare ecosystem. I've got a feeling that this is probably going to be relevant across most industry sectors, so everyone will be able to benefit from this. But Chitrang, if you want to just jump straight in, give yourself a very brief introduction, and then you can fire away.
Absolutely. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle, for the opportunity. This is I've been looking forward to this. Really good insights from Vikas earlier. I'm going to build on that with a specific focus on the healthcare track, and I'll do a brief introduction, and it will be clear, hopefully soon, why. And so let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I believe you can see my screen now, my presentation. So
Yep.
I'll start with a brief introduction. And this topic is near and dear to me. I've posted about this online as well. But just briefly, a little about me. I have 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Lots of focus on healthcare, and this is specifically why I'm looking at this from that perspective. I'm a technologist at heart, technologist by training, engineer by training, and I've kind of lived in this data technology space for the longest time, and then been practicing that at Medtronic here for the past several years. I'm a SQL evangelist at heart. I love SQL, and I'm preaching to anyone I work with and come across to get really good at SQL. Please feel free to LinkedIn. I connect with me on LinkedIn. I have my profile up there. And so with that, I'll jump right in. So unlocking value from the healthcare ecosystem. I wanted to focus on this specifically. The healthcare ecosystem globally, is in one word, it is complex. There are a number of different stakeholders with competing priorities. And they're all, there's a lot of research and there's a lot of work done on this from a provider, insurance, patient perspective. I have spent my career, most of my career, on the manufacturing side, kind of the folks who make the devices or provide drugs or other biotech for the providers and the patients. So there are a number of opportunities there as well. And I'm going to spend the session today talking about where we see value in healthcare. Healthcare, as you know, is one of the areas that is typically lagging due to various factors, but regulatory requirements are more stringent, rightly so, and a number of other factors. So healthcare is usually seen as behind and lagging in terms of innovation. And there's a lot of really neat things happening. And what I'm going to present here are four interesting use cases where we are applying data and analytics and AI to really drive value, and we'll do some do some takeaways at the end. So with that, the one way I've found useful in evaluating, and this is whether it's healthcare or not, but just in evaluating data initiatives, is framing the value in terms of one of these three, or more than one or more of these three interconnected ways. One is reducing costs, always an important topic and always an area of focus for any business. Increasing revenue, again, even more so important, especially now as we are getting into what may be an economic slowdown globally, and so organizations are really keen on those two, in reducing costs and increasing revenues. And the third, which I think is like the most exciting and the most valuable, is this innovation piece. And this is really driving analytics to innovate, to find new business models, to find new customers, to find new ways of doing things, and new markets and new geographies. lots of opportunity in this space. Again, also the most undefined, and really you really need the right people and the right folks to really to drive this forward. But if you have those in place, I also think this is where you have the biggest opportunity. So what does this mean in terms of healthcare? Really, at the end of the day, it's about improving the patient's outcomes, improving healthcare outcomes, and ultimately uh, driving efficiency within the system. So this is one way of framing this, and we'll, through the examples, we'll dive into some of these, and I'll summarize at the end kind of where we can approach and where we can find success. So my first example is actually from Medtronic, and the idea is to use video images. So again, I will mention this. I built my career in kind of the structured data SQL world. We can do a lot more beyond that today with image data, with video data. So this is an example where we're really using AI to and unstructured data, video image data, to identify uh, polyps, cancerous polyps that may potentially be cancerous, and the value proposition here is that the metrics are just stunning in terms of colorectal cancer. So this is a disease that, if identified earlier, is if diagnosed earlier, it's 90% of the people who are diagnosed early are able to beat it. And so it becomes really critical to find and identify those potential patients early in the system. And where having an data-driven, AI-driven system here to help analyze video images and video feeds, to help the physicians, to help the providers assist in identifying those. So again, this technology has been trained on millions of images. When this program was being started 4 years ago, there was about 1.5 million images, and today it stands at about 13 million images. So lots and lots of data, unstructured data. But as Vikas mentioned, the technology today is at a point where we can actually implement such a thing. So we take advantage of that. So that's example number one. The next one is a more traditional. I mentioned the framing of value. This is more on the reducing costs and increasing efficiency frame. But GE as a healthcare company has created lots of solutions and therapy and devices. Some of these are large capital equipment. Some of these are mobile. They move it around the hospital, and some of these are fixed, like for doing a MRI, for example. But with data, with analytics, we can now track how well these devices are being used. We can track how the data streaming from these devices can feed us and tell us if they're coming up due for maintenance, for example. So we can be more proactive about getting to these and addressing these issues before they take the equipment out for a week or 2 weeks, and prevent that downtime, and be able to run the hospital, run the operation more efficiently. So again, this whole idea of driving down costs and taking out costs of the system, improving efficiency overall for the entire organization. How are we doing this? They have partnered with an organization called Zebra. They're known for labeling, with smart tags. So if anybody is familiar with the Apple's AirTags, similar kind of concept. Stick a tag on the device, and it can track not only location, but also the smart ones can actually send the data back. Some challenges here, again, working through the network and the ecosystem and the regulatory requirements there. But again, important value here is in terms of really driving efficiency in managing the healthcare equipment. So again, super expensive equipment that's sitting out there, and if we can use it more efficiently, it helps drive down costs for everyone. My third example is on there's a really innovative healthcare startup out of Southern California, and they created a platform called CardioCare, and the idea is to really improve the patient journey for heart valve disease, and this was focus on heart valve disease. That's where their strengths are, but they are looking to expand beyond that. On the right, I have this typical patient journey. Patient becomes aware of a disease through education or through their doctor. They go for a screening, have an actual diagnosis, get a treatment, and do post treatment care. There are all of these points within this typical journey. It's not always a straight line. People are people, stuff happens, life happens, and if there isn't an immediate thing that's hurting me, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go. How often do we postpone getting a screening or just going into the doctor for a checkup, right? We'll avoid it as much as we can. So there are so many points in this journey that a patient typically drops off or is not getting the care or the therapy that they really could benefit from. So they created this platform called CardioCare, and as a result of this, they're helping the hospital systems manage the patient flow from identifying to screening to following up on appointments. So nowadays you can even get text messages from your doctor's office to say, hey, you have an appointment coming up. So things like that, just to encourage folks to get the care that they need and that they could benefit from. But as a result of this, again, they're able to side benefit of this. They're able to collect all these echocardiograms from these patients, and so as you keep going back for care and for treatment, you're able to now see progression of the disease. So if 2 years ago you were here, but now your echocardiogram shows a little bit of a difference, we can use analytics to, again, unstructured data, but to understand whether you're getting worse or you could benefit from again getting that therapy. So using data to identify, here's my population of patients in California that as a healthcare provider, I have access to all of this data. I can then look at how many people are potentially suffering from or could benefit from my device, and then treat and target and diagnose and treat them. So again, a really innovative use case on data and on analytics. Again, not really creating a new device, but really using the data that is already out there, that is already being used in treatment and in managing patients, to understand and understand disease and to treat disease. And then finally, another innovative startup. This is Better Therapeutics, and they are based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But the idea here is if the Instagrams and TikToks of the world can figure out a way to keep you addicted to their apps, how can we use that same psychology and that same cognitive behavior to techniques to drive and change behavior and help you manage chronic disease better? So they've created this application, and they're prescribing that as a physician, just like you would prescribe drugs and medicine. You can, as a physician, also prescribe digital therapy. So this is, the doctor would write a prescription to get this application from Better. The application would track, and you would check in every day. You would track how you're doing, and they've actually approached this as a proper clinical trial, just like we would do clinical trial for pharmacy and for drugs. The idea is that we are doing a therapy with a digital therapeutic, and so we are going to track this, and they're actually able to show at 3 months and 6 months significant improvement. In this case, they approached diabetes, so they're able to show significant, a big area or a big concern for patients who have diabetes is to stay within range, to keep their blood sugar within range. And they manage this through various, various insulin delivery and various ways, medicine of managing that. But they're able to show that those, along with a digital therapeutic, a digital prescription, actually increases their in-range time at 3 months and 6 months, and they're able to have a significantly improved A1C level. So this is again, a measure of how well you're managing your own disease. So they've started, as I mentioned, with diabetes is a huge burden on the healthcare system, is a huge burden on the patient. Imagine, this is something, if you have diabetes, is something on your mind 24/7. You're always monitoring what you're eating. You're always monitoring what your blood sugar levels are. So really important and innovative use of technology that is being already used on a mass scale today. So those are the four use cases I mentioned. I'll mention my four key takeaways and summarize my discussion here, and happy to take questions after this. But really, what are the keys to unlocking value in healthcare? And this, again, as you mentioned, Kyle, really goes beyond healthcare as well. A lot of these apply to, you can take this to your own industry and to your own work experience today, but understand deeply really who your stakeholders are. So in this case, it's the patients and the providers. Really, you need to understand what they're dealing with, what their pain points are, but really embed deeply that domain expertise. We are technologists, we are data and analytics and technology people, and we know that well. That's our domain. I personally live and thrive there, but having that understanding of the stakeholders goes a long way, and embed yourselves, find opportunities to go deep and learn, but that goes a long way. Second is use that deep knowledge to identify opportunities, identify opportunities to reduce friction. There are so many ways, if you look around how business is done, where we can help with technology to make things go smoother. So identify opportunities to reduce friction, solve problems. There are folks out there that we work with, that if you just observe them for a couple of days, or even just talk to them about what their pain points are, they'll be more than happy to share. Like, this is the thing that bothers me. Like, it's taking me time away from where I can be more valuable in, and this is where I end up downloading and spending 6 hours assembling these files. Well, that's something that you can, as technologists, we can help solve. And think about the overall patient experience. So I mentioned the examples here, from the most recent one with Better Therapeutics, is improve that overall experience of the patient, of the physician, of the doctor. If you're providing an AI or a data system that enables them to just highlight little areas on a video screen that they may have missed, that simplifies their life so much. Like, it's just like I mentioned this example. If you're driving on the highway, and there are a lot of these new cars today have technology to keep you within the lane. So this is the kind of stuff that it's not replacing what the doctor is doing. It's just making them more efficient. And then finally, build from your strengths. In the case of the Medtronic example, there is expertise in endoscopy and in capturing image data. Just doing that procedure, use that and build from there. In case of GE, they have deep expertise on capital equipment, managing capital equipment within the hospital system. Use that. We in our organizations, there is always, you can identify where the organization's strengths are. Managing the customer, or servicing equipment, most efficiently. Find those strengths, and look around, and look besides that, those opportunities are going to be incremental beyond that to add value right from where your strengths are, and you can really build from that, and be able to scale a solution from that really easily. So those are my key takeaways. I will stop here. I don't know how we're doing on time. I think we're doing okay, and take a few questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So yeah, we've got a couple of minutes for questions if anybody has any. I'll kick off, Chitrang. So obviously the whole concept of value around data analytics is kind of, it's become its own buzzword, right? Because there's been so much investment into this type of stuff, and it's maybe not brought back the type of results that many businesses were hoping for various different reasons. Obviously, I love the shared use cases because that gives real life examples of how value can be obtained through that. I guess similar to the question I asked for Thomas in the first presentation, how do you go about identifying then the use cases where you can really add value but get the balance right then between building something to service those use cases but that is also then sustainable and scalable for other use cases? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is a really good question, and you are absolutely right, Kyle. The topic of value and data monetization, broadly is top of mind of CDAOs across the board, right? As you've seen and as you've commented on, this is and rightly so, because this function is still kind of in its infancy and needs to prove itself to the business, right? So the CFOs of the organization, or the CHROs, the other C-suite folks have kind of done that. They've evolved, and they have earned that seat at the table. We still are getting there. And there is various levels of maturity within within various organizations, and even within a large organization where I am at, where some people get it, some people are doing really innovative things, and some don't. And we as technologists have to really work on identifying that and working with that. So to your other question of really finding those opportunities, I will say this, for probably the first half of my career, I was more of the tell me your problem and I'll find you a solution, and kind of on this order taker kind of mindset. You really have to be almost an entrepreneur and a kind of have a startup mentality, with even if you are in a full-time role. You really have to be thinking about things that your business partners are not going to be thinking about, or not looking at. They are too worried about running the business. So it's up to you to really drive and push those boundaries, and be have an open mind, have an open eyes, and look for those things and be proactive about that. That's what I found is most successful.